Bom dia, Portugal!
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast back in the Bay. I think we need to hack into the foliage a little bit. That neon behind me actually says on air if you've not seen it before. It doesn't say on AI, although maybe that will happen eventually on this show. No, over my dead broadcasting body. AI running broadcasting, honestly. Human beings presenting, human beings listening. That's what we're about here, isn't it, on the Good Morning Portugal show? How are you this morning? Do let me know in the chat. I'm glad to be back in the Bay after 2 fabulous days. It's barely 48 hours since I left this home here on the Silver Coast of Portugal and went on a fabulous road trip with Colin Ross Jones. And I've got a little bit of a slideshow. There are videos to follow as well as I wander through the garden of Quinta dos Três Rios with Hugh, learning about his vineyard. That was one small part and one amazing part of the trip of the last 48 hours to more to northern central Portugal. And we did so many amazing things. We went to Batalha. Actually, I'll save my running through where we went, our itinerary. And I'll accompany it with a few slides as well. But this is the one image that is the kingpin of the trip. It was a road trip, and it revolved around 2 remarkable vehicles. Coach Turner's wonderful Porsche, the blue car at the front in which I'm sat there, and in the rearview mirror, Colin driving there across the Serra Estrela mountain range, the highlands of Portugal, really. And we had the most wonderful time discovering incredible places and having a lot of fun and touching Portuguese snow for the first time, for one thing. So thanks very much, Colin. And this man, Colin, is an incredible organizer. I did put it to him that he organized trips for other people in and around this area or in Portugal because he knows it so well. He puts together such a great itinerary. And then the wonderful, magical things happen. Not unlike when we go out on tour with Philomena, of course, tripsforbrits at gmail.com. And I'm a little horse, not like Samson, who we looked at yesterday. I'm still marveling at this and wondering if this is a completely authentic picture. That horse is extraordinarily huge. I mean, for example, these might be tiny men. I don't think they are, though. They look like big fellas who are working with Samson here. But if Samson decides to relieve himself, those 2 guys on the right there are in big trouble. I'm a little horse. Samson was a very big horse. It's Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday. It's Ask and Say Anything. That's the evolution of the Hump Day show here on the Good Morning Portugal franchise. GMP TV, of course. Not only can you ask about Portugal, but you can make claims about Portugal. Let's hope they're based in in your own experience. But little funny things, quirky things. I was reminded of one yesterday in the services of Portugal. I don't know if I saw this in the United Kingdom where I grew up, but in a service station in Portugal, people are trusted not to drink and drive. Not that always works out, as we sometimes see in the news, but people are trusted, generally speaking, given the benefit of the doubt, that if you're picking up anything from the bottom shelf, and isn't it interesting? It's not the top shelf where all the alcohol is in a service station on a motorway in Portugal. It's the bottom shelf, the most accessible, you might argue. with fizz over to the right, and a really good selection of reds and whites, including National Treasure, Mateus Rosé, and I can never remember the name of that Vinho Verde, but the really popular one in the middle there with the blue. Is it Garcia? With its very, very nice blue label. That's a happy memory from early days here in Portugal. But look at that. A tin of wine as well, I think you can get as well. It's not amazing. That's a quirky Portuguese thing, I think. Or in a lift. Floor 2, you might press that thinking you're getting out on the 3rd floor. Actually, floor 2 is the 3rd floor. The 1st floor is the 2nd floor. And the ground floor is the lobby 1st floor. What? Yes. I'm sure if you've been here in Portugal for a while, you'll have experienced something like that. So those quirky things, any questions you've got for ask anything about or say anything about Portugal here today, do let me know in the chat. Let's see who's here this morning. I know that Astrid's, well, fingers crossed. I was late putting the show link and all that and everything together last night. Hopefully Astrid got the memo and will be joining us around 1:45. Paul Rees, always good fun talking to Paul Rees. The man who has been in Portugal for a long time now and moved from the Algarve to central Portugal, where he's developing properties and knows a lot about this country, and is always great fun to have a chat with. He's here at 9, and Heather Binder at 9:30 as well. If you need any help moving to Portugal, you can get Heather's unique boots on the ground Portugal angle on that as well. So looking forward to talking to Heather, Paul and Astrid, and maybe Bobby O'Reilly will pop in. He sent me a wonderful photograph. He was taking it easy, a well-earned rest for a moment with his missus and family on the beach yesterday at Fonte de Telia, his favorite place. I said, are you back on your favorite beach, mate? He said, my favorite place in the world. And you can understand why. We see Lisbon in the distance there and the wonderful easygoing beach vibes of Fonte de Telia, where we filmed actually a little bit there. And we had a concluding scene, not a canoodle. That's in a later episode of The Englishman and the Irishman, maybe. We had a concluding scene sat on that beach looking out to the sea. It was fantastic. Filmed brilliantly by Andy Klein. How are you doing, Andy? Hope you're feeling better. I think your beer drinking plans at the weekend were a little bit disrupted. I hope you're feeling better now. And Andy continuing to publish fabulous footage on his channel and ours, and the Portugal Resident, actually. The Portugal Resident take our videos as well. So not the only beautiful sunset photographed. That's Bobby's there. Not the only beautiful photograph of a sunset in Portugal. Others were coming in. I don't know if I'm allowed to say whose photograph this is from an aircraft landing in Portugal. He or she is here, has arrived last night, and I want to make sure it's okay to share that information with you. But isn't that a lovely picture to take on your arrival here as you come into Portugal of an evening? Better to land at Lisbon Airport. Even Lisbon Airport was better to land at than British airports yesterday, where I think there was chaos. But this person, I think it's fair to say, leaving Britain and the chaos of the airports there and coming in to Lisbon last night, wishing you all the very best here. And let me know if it's okay to reveal your identity as having arrived here last night. Also, João de Norte, look at this, a sunset last night. That was our opening meme. Tintin looking out of the window. What's Tintin looking at? We've got a little video to play in just a moment. So actually, or is that the dawn? Or is that the dark? The sunset, wasn't it? All will be revealed in just a moment when I play the video. Got my slideshow of the last couple of days. I can't believe it's less than 48 hours ago that we set out and went to all these wonderful places and had a fabulous time meeting up with a coach who I think is in the chat now. Let's have a look. Antonio F. Thank you to you, Antonio F., for your continued service at GMP VIP, the Portugal Club, of course. Wonderful. Senor Munson, I remember this guy, FD Devane. Yes, I know him. Senor Munson, morning, Frank. How are you? What kind of beauty product do you use to look so fresh every day? You know what? The love of a good woman and the love and support of a fabulous community. And so it's lovely to see you here this morning as part of that community, Frank. That's what does it. Solar Life P is in. Antonio F, of course. T-Duck. Bon dia, Alegria Gumpers. And in Texas, let me just remove that for a moment. So the talking sunset. We'll come back to that beautiful sunset, João de Norte. Thank you very much. In Texas, they have drive-through beer barns. You don't even have to get out of the car. Howdy, y'all. Fill her up. Fill her up. In Texas means something different. Fill the trunk for the cold beers. Fantastic. Okay. Again, is that a trusting the citizens of a state rather than nannying them a little bit too much, I wonder. Bom dia, Gumpers, from James. Feliz Cata a todos. Como va? Igualmente. Contigo, I mean to say, James, how are you this morning? And a mindful moment from you. I need this morning. As much fun as it was, blimey, what a schedule. We did a lot of miles. So, yes, very kind words, Frank, for you to comment on my appearance. I'm imagining I'm looking actually a little bit knackered and haggard this morning, which isn't the best review, is it? Every morning we are born again. What we do today matters most. The Buddha, allegedly. Every morning we are born again. And it's not as messy, is it, necessarily, as the first time we were born, or painful. Every morning we are born again. What we do today matters most. Isn't that lovely? Thank you very much for that, James. Gumper dust as well. Sprinkle gumper dust on things, Frank. That's the other part of my beauty regime. A mindful dad joke. A tombstone with a typo. It's a grave mistake. Hey, very good. And I was wondering about whether to share your visuals. I will, because Mrs. M laughed when she saw it on my phone. I thought it was a bit racy and naughty. James will come back to that. Bom dia, meus amigos. Fantastic day yesterday, exploring the highest point in Portugal. And then driving, that's where we saw the snow, wasn't it? At different times, it has to be said. We weren't there together at that point. We met Ian a little bit later on, who's talking here. Highest point in Portugal. It was the highest point meeting us. Then driving the lovely roads of the Serra Estrela with Colin and Carl. Thanks, guys. It was a blast. It really was, wasn't it? And your God Squad tip of the day, we'll come back to some pictures to prove it, Coach Turner. After a couple of simple walking drills, we're on to something a little quicker, known as an ankle dribble. The Victorians loved a bit of that, didn't they? Known as an ankle dribble, this helps encourage good posture and correct timing. The Victorians love that. The idea is to jog forward. It's okay to say jog on to someone in this context. Jog forward, moving your feet in a cycling motion just over your ankles. Your toes should be pointing upward and you should land on the ball of your foot. I'd love to see some video of this. Some of these little vignettes visually will be awesome, Coach Turner. As I know you're busy at the moment. As you land with each foot, you should push upwards to create a little bounce. It doesn't like a little bounce first thing in the morning. This helps ensure that your hips stay high, encouraging you to run tall. Son, my advice to you in life is to run tall. Do a couple of runs of 30 meters as part of your warm-up, then move on to bringing your foot over calf level and repeat. Very good. Bon dia. Thank you, Coach Turner. Incredible. On a road trip, enjoying yourself in Portugal and still managing to supply a God Squad tip of the day to us. Bon dia, Gumpers, from a beautiful sunny Miranda de Corvo. Let's have a look at this picture as well this morning from Michael. I got a couple, actually, because I forgot to feature Michael's picture, the contribution to Monday's wine club. And I think you overlooked it, but stayed with the central Portuguese vibes anyway. Didn't go with the regular Beirão. You went with the Beirão Dom rather 100-year celebratory brew, which is very good, actually, I have to say. So well done, Michael. And this morning in MDC, look at that sky. Not unlike that here. Let's find out what that weather's like in Cascais as we have Astrid join us now. Nice big round of applause. Here she is, everybody. Hola, bon dia, Astrid.
Good morning. Good morning, Carl. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. How are you?
I'm very well.
And is it beautiful through your window this morning as we look out into the Portuguese landscape?
Yes. Yeah, I don't have that. I've got suburban streets, but still, it feels like summer.
Yeah, I don't have a sea view. If I misled anyone thinking that I had a sea view here, I've just got a garden view here and the beautiful blue sky of Portugal, which it is today, cloud free at the moment. It's looking like it's going to be a beauty today, as it is in Miranda de Corvo. So same in Cascais. How was your weekend? How was the gathering in Tomar?
The meetup was great. There were some fantastic people there, people that we've seen virtually and actually meeting now in real person. That was really, really good. But it was great. We started off with drinks and nibbles at a venue just on the big park there, and then we all, most of us went off to an Indian restaurant to have an Indian buffet. It was very, very good.
Tomar is so lovely. Any highlights then? Any surprises that you can share with us?
Highlights, surprises. I think there were some people there who had never had Indian food before and were a bit reluctant to try. Yeah, and sitting on Jerry's table, and then they tried it. They're like, "Oh, this is actually really, really good." So there are people out there that haven't had Indian before, and we converted them.
How about that? Moving to Portugal to be trying Indian food for the first time. That's wonderful. So I'm so glad to hear that. You had a lovely time. Sorry not to join you. I was, of course, with Mrs. M celebrating our 13th wedding
Of
anniversary.
course, happy
Glad
anniversary.
you had yeah, thank you very much. It was a lovely day. Lovely day. And looking forward then to tomorrow evening. This sounds good. The importance of smooth integration in Portugal. That's tomorrow evening, is it not?
It's Thursday, yes, tomorrow evening.
Okay.
Yes.
So what lies ahead of us with that?
So this is with our friends at Global International. It's about the smooth transition from relocating your personal effects to finding a home, to finding schools, to everything that you can think of that you need to just have a smooth transition to your new life here. So they are experts in each of these different fields. They offer services to help people to integrate into the Portuguese lifestyle. So we're going to be touching on some of the more frequently asked questions for transitioning into the Portuguese lifestyle. So
with global international relocation. Now, I heard of an expression when people are moving their effects to Portugal, white glove treatment, I think. And GIR can do that, can't they? They can come into your house, I think, and you can say, yeah, could you take all of this to Portugal, please? And they will, won't they? They'll take care of everything.
Yes, they will. But Carl, it was interesting when I moved my stuff from Australia to Portugal. We weren't allowed to pack it ourselves. We had to have somebody pack it for us, and they needed to take an inventory of everything that we were packing. And I guess that's for customs clearance, because they want to make sure that you're not sort of smuggling any commercial goods or anything that's not supposed to be brought over or whatever it might be. But we weren't allowed to pack. With the service we had to hire had to do the packing for us.
That's
And,
amazing. It's a professional, is it like a trusted, almost official of the government who's coming and packing and making sure that nothing?
No, it's the removalists themselves. So the company that you hire. They come in. Now, I don't know if it's the same in most countries, so but I know from Australia, and it would make sense because you need to then obtain a baggage certificate, which you get from presenting all of the inventory of what it is that you've actually packed. Yes. So, I don't know what happens from the States or from other countries, but it is something to be mindful of. So some of those, I think there's a UPack, We Ship companies, just need to be mindful or careful of that, because if you do need to get your baggage certificate, it may not be the right service for you. So, but
we'll find out all about it tomorrow night, won't we? And then the dream team thereafter at 9. Yep, excellent. All those sort of moving questions, we can put those to GR tomorrow night at 7:30, and then at 9 the dream team session. And of course, last week we found out, we were talking to Philomena before the dream team session, and my concluding question to the dream team was what sort of coffee, what sort of Portuguese coffee do they like to drink? And they were all pretty much, all the Portuguese people like to have a coffee shot, an espresso shot. And they think of us lot who drink coffee with milk after meals as weirdos, right? Astrid, we discovered last week.
We are a bit weird. They couldn't understand how people could drink milk after their meal. But I don't know. For me, it's not a common thing for me to have coffee with milk after a meal either. Like for me, coffee with milk is a morning drink, and it's something I enjoy earlier in the day. In fact, I've got one on my table, my desk right now. But yeah, like to drink coffee after a meal. I don't. In Australia, culturally, that's not a big thing anyway. So
is it not? Okay, all right. So cheese at the beginning, and coffee with milk for breakfast. And when you're, as we found out, and it was as confirmed by the dream team, who we'll see tomorrow at 9 again, of course, with Queen of the Visas, Daniel Reyes, I dare say, will be back as well. Nunu on insurance, just all the top professionals in the business, and the dream team panel answering your questions at 9 o'clock tomorrow evening. Excellent. Anything else you want to share before you head off for your Cascais day today, Astrid?
Yes, don't forget Hank and Connie's online social is this Saturday. So it had been moved from last week because they came along and enjoyed the party with us. And so it's on this Saturday.
Right, excellent. Quick question for you: is it Vegemite after a meal? I think he means in Oz, not in Austin.
No, we have Vegemite mainly for breakfast on toast.
Come on, Pete. He knew the answer to that. I think he was.
I love Vegemite, and I'm so glad I can still buy it here in Portugal. It's amazing.
Excellent. Grab me some Marmite, if you will, when you're in the expat shop, Astrid, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much for being here this morning. And we'll see you tomorrow. Ciao, ciao. Have a great day.
Bye.
Ciao,
Bye, everyone.
there she goes. Fantastic. Cheers, Astrid. Bye for now. Thank you very much. Paul Rees is limbering up as well, getting ready in central Portugal. He can't be with us too long. Court appearance or something like that, I think he said. So we'll have a chat with him in a little while. He might have. He looks like he's had a couple of coffees already. He's looking very chipper this morning. Quick slideshow for you this morning then on this wonderful road trip that I was on with Colin. Now, I knew something great was going to happen. When somebody turns up and you have your first coffee break, this is when we stopped off at Atelier de Dos. And I thought, something about you, Colin, today. What is it? And he's had a halo for this trip here. So that should have been a bit of a sign early on. A big tray of donuts from Atelier de Dos. If you live on the Silver Coast and you go anywhere else in the country, I believe it's a local bylaw that you stock up on Atelier de Dos donuts. And they went down very well, I have to tell you, at our principal stop with Hugh and Jane, where we broadcast from yesterday morning, of course. We stopped off at Battaglia and had one of the worst cafe experiences we've ever had. Not just together, but singly, as well as severally, I think is the legal term. But stepped into Battaglia Monastery, which I'd not seen before. That's the outside. What a place. Absolutely incredible. Well worth a stop off. And it's hard to miss. You're coming along on is it the A8 or the main road anyway, N8? And there it is. So you're going to drive through Monastery. But you take a little turn and you park up. Battaglia is a superb little town. Careful which cafe you choose. I think, to be fair to them, they were having a little bit of a staff issue. But it was the longest I'd waited for a torrada. And the least buttered torrada I'd ever had. And we went through, do you want a dorada or a torrada? You've got to be careful because you don't want a piece of fish necessarily when you're just having your breakfast toast. But it was awkward and odd at this particular cafe, but lovely to stop off at Battaglia. Then, of course, we went to Quinta dos Três Rios. I wonder if Paul Rees knows about that and whether his particular patch extends to Viseur or not. I hope it does, because I think he would be delighted to make the acquaintance of Hugh there. What an amazing project that is. More videos to follow. And there's me looking out of, was that my bedroom balcony or was it the other end of the building? A fabulous building, Paul. You'd have loved it. Built with Georgian principles and geometry by a Brit back in the 19th century who came over to set up an upholstery, or not upholstery, a fabric mill from Lancashire. An incredible history to that building. I touched. This is a bizarre place, isn't it? Up at Tor on the Serra Estrella. Actually, Paul, would you like to talk through this with me? Shall we bring you on screen and we can do this together? Yes, let's give him a nice big round of applause. That makes more sense. Hola, bon dia. Let's get out of the way for the moment. Here he is. How are you? How are you this morning?
Yeah, good. Excellent. Yeah, I was laughing at that building in Tours. It's like something out of communist Russia.
Yes, and there's like a Masonic temple to the left, then a massive listening post. There's two of those. One of them's got the GNR on it. And then you've got the most extraordinary little mini market there, haven't you? They call it the business center, I think. And you walk in and people are stuffing cheese and sausages.
It's cheese and woolly socks. You've got to buy some of each.
Yeah, that's right.
Come summer or winter. Yeah.
So you've been up there and you've chucked a bit of snow around by the sound of it.
No, I've only been up there in the summer, to be honest. In the winter, the access road is so small.
Yes.
That the queues on a sort of 45-degree slope. I don't think the old jalopy would last.
Yeah, but what an amazing place. I mean, that was yesterday. There was snow on the ground and there were people having their selfies, chucking a bit of well, it wasn't yellow snow, thankfully. It was more sort of it was grey snow that was but it is a really bizarre, it's beautifully Portuguese and quirky up there, and it's not a bad time of the year to go, is it, right now?
No, it's beautiful. And the land behind it, when you carry on across the Serra, is an extraordinary landscape. I'm sure geologists would spend many happy hours pottering around there. But no, it's a beautiful area. And I don't know precisely when it was constructed, the ski resort and the cheese retail outlets, but it's very novo estado. I mean, we will have a ski resort and we will sell cheese. Go and do it.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, and not the most stylish or beautiful of architectural ethics involved. Let's just get it built. Right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was out the bottom left-hand drawer, that one. What is it?
The apprentices. I'm not going up there in that weather. Send one of the kids out. Send one of the young lads out and get something built up there.
I mean, it's remarkable what did get built with with power resting in the hands of one man. I was looking at Cabril, the reservoir, the other day, and some old pictures from the 50s. It was completed, I think, in 53. The dam, and I didn't realize that one side of the valley was a whole community. There was buildings and houses and bunk houses and offices, and I mean, most of it's gone. There's the remains of some, but it must have employed thousands. And obviously, where are they going to live? They can't all bivouac in Pedrogal Grande and Pequeno. So they built their own. There's some remnants left, but it's a massive project because from the central government, we will have hydroelectric.
Can you imagine that day? The boss wants a hydroelectric power system. Okay, well,
it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
And they say now that these dams wouldn't get built. They'd never get through the environmental planning, or we'd still be talking about them 20 years later, like Faro Bridge to the island, where they're now finally doing the last section of it. And that, I remember when I came here, that was going to happen next week. So that's 20 years in budgetary issues and planning, and just get the army to do it. They could have done it in a couple of months.
Well, that's right. That's these things happen with a dictatorship, don't they? A bit like the idea to pipe water from the north to the south. That was probably an Estado Novo idea originally, wasn't it? I mean, a water highway, that's been talked about, hasn't it, to help with the southern droughts?
Yeah, it's been talked about for decades, but only now with global climate shifting and the increase in population in the tourist population in the Algarve, only now has it become perhaps an imperative. But yeah, the plans have been talked around forever, but there was no great need. I think also with the lowering of the sort of on-off situation with Spain and Portugal, with regulating the water in the Tejo and the Guadiana, I think that it becomes more important that Portugal does look nationally at its water supply.
Yeah,
and it creates this north-south divide as well, because the Algarve saying, no, you've got so much water in the north, and the north saying, yeah, well, it's ours. Everyone suddenly becomes very regional. But if you look at it it's my contention, Portugal has plenty of water. It's just very badly managed.
So often the way with resources.
And it's poorly husbanded. The Algarve loses between 30 and 35% of the water twixt cup and lip, if you like, from the water supply to the tap. So that's 3.5 litres of every 10 litres is just wasted.
Madness.
Yeah, no, it's insane. Yeah. And they're saying, oh, we want to spend 100 million on a desalination plant right above what is often voted the best beach in Portugal, at Falésia. You think, well, if you actually fix the pipe network, and their reason, it's too expensive. It's too complicated. Yeah, it's just
it's not a nice enough contract, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Just build some big pipes and let's have done with it. Yeah, that would appear to be what the blockage is. And who else but Paul Rees would be able to bring in a Shakespearean turn of phrase, twixt cup and lip, when talking about such big political hot potatoes. Nice to have you here this morning, Paul. This is the great contrast of the architecture that we experience. So on the one hand, you have these incredible buildings up there at the Tour. And that does look like a temple, doesn't it? There, I think that probably is their chapel up there. And what a great place to get. You can't get closer to God in Portugal than that, quite literally, if you believe in that metaphor of the divine, of course. And then we stopped here with the men of these motors, not jalopies. We were in the Porsche and the Toyota Yaris, and we chanced upon this place, Paul. This is incredible. The Burel Panorama Hotel, the San Lorenzo, 5 stars. We walked in and asked, it's very posh, and we asked if we could have a coffee. And there was a little bit of a slight ruffling of feathers. And yes, please follow me, walk this way. Whereupon we were in this architecture, quite the contrast to the stuff at Tor.
Yeah.
And this is the restaurant. And you'd struggle to find a better view overlooking the town of Mantegas, which you probably know, down in the valley there. This place is exquisite, absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything like it. And we had a lovely coffee. The other fellows had coffees. Their galaus were served with a little bit of crumble cake to the side of the drink. My cola had a dried citrus in it and a bowl of peanuts. It was incredible. Do you know of this establishment up there? Have you driven past there?
I have been past it. I've never been dressed well enough to present myself for a coffee.
Well, you could take the sort of the style of the British eccentric who eschews so, you could just bowl in there, bold as brass, and ask for a coffee, and I think you'll be fine. You know, that sort of thing that toffs do.
Yeah, I'll have to find my pocket kerchief and tuck it into a breast pocket.
And a hat. Got to have a hat of some sort.
Get away with anything. Yeah, it's interesting, the Portuguese view on the British, because they worked out years ago that the more shabbily and chaotic a British gentleman dresses, invariably the larger is his bank account. So driving around in an old Renault 4 in the day,
yes,
rather than a new Mercedes, created far more kudos amongst the locals than showing off with your golf club BMW.
Yeah, that's on the Never Never, presumably. And that the Renault 4, the boot is stuffed with cash, ready for a chance purchase of a ruin somewhere. Fantastic. So would thoroughly recommend the Burrell. And we were filming the cars driving on that 232 up there, which is an exquisite road if you like driving and you want to test the capabilities of your vehicle. Probably not your Renault 4 or my Skoda, but with those performance cars, it's incredible up there. Yeah. Even with those high-end cars, a little bit of a whiff of hot clutch up there. And as you say, the most incredible views, Pac-Man-like stones on the landscape. Yeah. Doesn't do it justice. It's very difficult to get a shot of this area that does it justice. I hope this does in some way. But the panoramas, the vistas are just extraordinary up there, aren't they? It really
it's the endless views. You are close to God. I think those rocks are called Roches Moutonnées.
Okay.
I think they're the ones that glaciers moved over.
Yes.
That usually in valleys, but that goes back to schoolboy geography. But it's an extraordinarily beautiful area of an extraordinarily beautiful country.
Yes, so true.
Many people see little more than Lisbon Airport to their resort or Faro Airport to their resort. And many people that have lived here for ages don't move. Their exploration is perhaps going to Fatima or Batalha and Lisbon by train, but not just hopping in a car and exploring.
Yeah, absolutely. Please go up there if you get the chance. It's real road trip sort of stuff. There are lovely places to stop to suit every budget, of course, as well. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to go. Have you been involved in that 11-minute contraflow traffic management system at Mantegas?
No.
Well, we stopped. There we are in these throbbing beasts of motor cars. The open road, the wind in your hair, if we've got any left, it's fantastic. And suddenly we're stopping at the traffic light system where there's clearly been a little bit of a rockfall. And you look at a sign and it says, be prepared to wait 11 minutes. And this contraflow system that goes down to just one lane that takes you into the town of Mantegas is so long that's how long the lighting phase of the traffic lights have to be. And Ian and I were giggling about it. Is if there is such a publication as Traffic Management Weekly, this particular project will be a cover star or a center spread. It was amazing. We were sat there for about 11 minutes. I made a video while I was sat there.
Outstanding. Yeah. No, I used to get TMW regularly.
Good, is it? I hope you got a discount subscription.
Yeah, well, they changed it to monthly, and it never really recovered.
No, and probably went online, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, that was it.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
that was it.
a familiar picture. Really. Bom dia, Portugal, from João Ernesto as well. Greetings from the sunny Algarve, 29 degrees today. Get that sun cream out. Bom dia from Pete. Is that a normal horse, or is it just Portuguese fellas there? Are you familiar with the legend of Samson, the massive horse? Look at this horse here, Paul. We don't know if that's a manipulated picture, but that's a huge Shire horse right there, isn't it? Quite extraordinary.
Yeah, I think it's a 1910 version of Photoshop, to be honest.
What was that? That was a fantastic, ahead of its time piece of technology.
Yeah, Daguerre type shop. Yeah.
One of Adobe's first efforts there. Very good.
That was the name of the horse, wasn't it?
What? Adobe, the horse.
Adobe.
Bon dia. A todos from Antonio F as well. Fantastic to see you here, Antonio. T-Duck, of course, in as well this morning. Bon dia, Big Tony, from Pete to Antonio there. That photo, good, but a little plain. My goodness, the puns are rolling in thick and fast this morning. We do like an aeroplane photograph coming into Lisbon Airport. I think that was probably Lisbon and not Faro right there. We'll find out what you've been up to just recently in a moment, Paul, as well. Let's just make sure we've said hello to everybody this morning. Yeah, Frank's in as well from the Algarve. Oh, this looks good. Don't know if you have time to go to the cinema, Paul. On May 13th, 14th and 15th will take place the Festa do Cinema. Portuguese cinemas will display 40 movies, many of them Portuguese, and tickets will cost €3.50. That's a pretty good deal, isn't it? Good deal generally anyway. I'm going to Portuguese cinema. I saw an Australian cooking program the other day. They were making meringue. I think it's a Scottish joke coming up here. The audience were cheering. It was odd. They usually boo meringue. Ouch. Ow.
Oof.
Ow. What is the worst thing about being bitten by a poisonous snake? Sorry, not a poisonous steak, but poisonous snake. You're probably Australian. Oh, he's naughty, isn't he? Looks a little like a light bulb has gone off behind Colin in that picture. I just thought it was his personality.
Yeah, it's good.
That. Yeah. That's Colin from day before yesterday. Sarah's in as well. OLP is in. What time is it for you in the United States? There, Linda. Bon dia to all you great gumpers. Good to see you. Oh, and agreed with you there, Paul. Did João Ernesto, water management? We have more than our fair share here. Yet when those profligate, wasteful Southerners, no, he didn't say that. Yet when we have abundant overflow, it all just gets flushed to the Atlantic. Why not send it via viaduct or canal down south? Or a nice lucrative lorry contract for somebody? Is it still about 1 billion times better than raw sewage releasing like the Thames water there? Wow. Okay, so what have you been up to, Paul? You are in central Portugal, of course, looking for wonderful properties to redevelop and share with people. What's been going on for you?
Two main things. We're finishing a small cottage for a very nice Dutch guy that bought it halfway through its rebuild. So he wanted to buy a alojamento local, brave man. So that's in its last week. That's where I'm heading this morning, just to check on that and meet the client. And before that, I spent an inordinate amount of time negotiating on a very nice country house that was a failed project where somebody had started and run out of money. So it was a rather delicate negotiation with the vendor wishing to reclaim what she had spent on a brand new roof, windows, etc., but little more. Where it's a classic case where the value to me was well lower than what she shelled out. So that was a difficult negotiation. It's hard sometimes. I have to put my capitalist hat on, and and I need to make a profit. I'm acting for myself and my investors, so it is difficult, and you've got to stick to the figures there and blank out all the weeping. But that eventually was bought at 34% discount to its list price, so I was quite happy with that. And it will, I'd say in 6 to 8 months back on the market will be a very nice 3 or 4 bedroom farmhouse that has been empty for 70 years.
That's one of the most important things, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Where can you get one of these capitalist hats then?
Well, I got a drawer full actually. Yeah.
Various, what, to suit your handbag and shoes?
Yeah, it comes. Yeah, my chameleon handbag. Yeah.
Incredible.
No, I've got to play different roles.
Yeah, of course.
Parallel to that, the company has found finally, after a detailed search, it's found its final shareholder. I was left enough shares to include a fourth shareholder later, and that later is now.
Yes,
which is 3.5, 4 years into the company's life, and we found somebody that actually is one of our investors, who funded one project and then another, who lives in this country, is retired in his 50s, but retired, and has a financial background, which is exactly what I wanted. So he's agreed to join as a shareholder as well. So that's been an interesting and fruitful process in the company's development.
Congratulations to you. And that sounds significant, because I mean, I guess, this sort of person perhaps might want to come to Portugal after a busy corporate career for a quiet life, and being a shareholder and having to attend meetings and make decisions, to be responsible for the daily workings of, well, if not the daily, but the overall workings of a company. That must be a temptation that was deeply thought about, coming back into the game like that.
Yeah, it was deeply thought about. He's a financial analyst, so he's worked all over Europe.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, his facts and figures are his daily life, if you like. So it was a very carefully thought out plan and negotiation, and an absolute delight, I must say.
And fair play to you for having the foresight to know what skills are needed to make this company go far.
Well, it was, I mean, I drew up a sort of list of bullet points a while ago, and we got halfway through a negotiation with somebody that was moving here, but then didn't because NHR was scrapped. So that was also, and he wanted to be here to be of advice and help. But so I said, okay, we didn't desperately need the last shareholder. It's just something I didn't issue all the shares when the company was founded. As I say, I kept a chunk so we could, if necessary, recapitalize later in the company's development, and certainly the price agreed reflects the company's growth. So it was a sensible decision to leave that sort of blank space. But there's a difference between a shareholder and a board member. The shareholders can be passive or they can be active. This gentleman will be more active because he lives here and has a long-term interest and involvement in property. Wonderful. So the other shareholders are a mixture. Some are more involved than others. So yeah, it is, and it's good for me as well, because I don't feel so alone. I've got someone to bounce ideas off that are immediately responsive and live here, and and he also speaks Portuguese and can deal with estate agent. It's
ideal.
Yeah, it is. No, it is good. It's a good move. Whilst we get on with, we've got 4 projects to start, 4 to finish, and 1 left to sell. So it's quite a busy time.
Good times for rural properties, and I think not an easy thing to do as an entrepreneur. To you may need extra skills, but entrusting other people, having teamwork going on rather than wanting to be responsible and taking care of everything must be quite a balance to strike as well. Yeah,
I mean, there is with any startup, there's the control freakery of having to do everything.
Yes,
from organising Mayo accounts to the accounts to the legals to and then somewhere leave space to develop the business. So any entrepreneur knows this. The quicker you can afford to buy in services, the better. And I've got an extremely good list and team of people that advise and do stuff. The company doesn't employ anyone; it's all subcontracted, which is ideal. I've had companies in Portugal that employ people, and I don't recommend it as a pastime. It's
I've heard this quote before.
Yeah. Oh, that other quote. You know that the other quote about the central region. It's like Scotland without the midges. That seems to have caught on.
I've not heard that.
One of yours. That's great.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we had a laugh about it, and I may have said it, but I think
Right.
you said, that would be great as for the tourist board to promote the central region.
Well, we've got a whole picture developing here. It's like Ireland without the rain, and it's like Scotland without the midges. It's like Welsh without the. And we'll let other people fill in the blanks there, perhaps.
Well, if you look at my surname, don't make it too offensive, please.
Okay, you will steer clear of the Welsh leisure centre jokes and that sort of thing. Okay,
Yeah.
right. Now, one of the wonderful things for me about going on this road trip the last couple of days is being in central Portugal. And I was going to ask you, wanted to know if your compass, as it were, stretches as far as Tondela Viseu, because I was reminded of this beautiful area. I don't know if you know of this property here. Where Hugh and Jane have that ruin that you see, or the former ruin that you see, top left-hand corner there.
Yeah.
They went to see it. They'd not been to Portugal before. They were sort of tipped off that they should look at Portugal. I think it's the only place they saw as well. They crowbarred open a window to get in because the person who was supposed to be organising the viewing didn't turn up. They crowbarred a window, got in. They came back yesterday to see the person who was supposed to be there the day before, and they put an offer and they bought it. And 20 years later, they've created the most beautiful place there. Do you stretch as far as that? Because I know I was in your territory yesterday when I was in Tabua, Travança, Oliveira do Hospital. That's more your sort of area, isn't it? And closer to Coimbra. Do you go up as far as Viseu? Do you know much about that area?
I know a fair amount about the area. I mean, in 2019-20, I researched all along that area north of the Serra. And also over to Garda and Fundão and Castelo Branco. So I spent a lot of time all over. And I ended up where I ended up for economic reasons, which is south of where you're talking, southwest. So it's more in the Figueira dos Vinhos, Castanheira de Pera, Pedrogao area. But actually, the first purchase was in Ceia, which is up that way. But no, I don't know this couple. It looks like a fantastic project. I've heard of it, but I've not visited, which I should do. I've got to go up that way actually on Friday to do a deed in Goish, I think. So I might spend a bit more time mooching around. I'm a very good moocher. I'm got quite good at mooching and spotting stuff and being nosy, not awkward, just nosy.
And there's a TV show in that, isn't there, or a YouTube channel? Because that's the other thing, mooching. I don't know if people are familiar with this phrase. I don't know if it's a British thing or whatever, but to mooch in central Portugal is to have quite a magical life and existence. I think it is a beautiful place to mooch, isn't it? You know, find a cafe, find a deserted little village. There are so many things to chance upon. Is that what you love about having a mooch around there? Yeah,
I mean, I've always been one to turn left, not right. I remember going on a road trip with a friend of mine, actually, who's one of our shareholders, a long-term friend in our late teens, and he'd just got a posh new car, and so we crossed the channel and flipped a coin. So we were heading to the south of France to see his uncle, and we ended up in Belgium just because we said, well, we could go left, right, or straight on.
Why not? Yes.
Had this absolutely bizarre coin tossing start to a great fun holiday. And I've always kind of been like that. If there's a track, not a road, I'll go down the track. And I just like finding out stuff. I'm naturally inquisitive, and apparently I said why a lot when I was a kid. Why?
I can imagine. And that's the name of the TV show, isn't it? It's Turn Left, Not Right.
Yeah.
And this could be the basis of the show. Now, how does Portuguese culture respond to you just turning up at the end of the track, or walking into the local cafe and saying, "Hey, who owns that place over there?" Does that tend to go down well? Because I think the Portuguese people themselves are quite open and frank in that way.
Yeah, there's the hurdle to get over is language. So if you can smile and give somebody a hearty bom dia or boa tarde,
yeah, and
then ask for their help and advice. Can you help me? I'm looking for. Can you help me? Somebody told me. It's pretty easy. And as soon as a cafe full of people, or a cafe with just the owner behind the bar, realizes you can communicate okay in their language, then the whole thing opens up. It is quite extraordinary. I went to a cafe the other day that I'd never been in my life, and went in. It was the normal bom dias and I've a galau, whatever. And the person said, "So how's the yellow house coming on then?"
Really?
And I think you really don't know who's looking at it, and that property for them was probably 15 kilometers away. But because of my car, and because the contractor goes in there, and because I don't know, one of the workmen may live nearby, you kind of never know. You shouldn't, certainly never assume.
No, that's worth knowing. That's worth knowing, though, isn't it? That there is that social surveillance system for sure.
Yeah, very, very, very much so. But if I want to find a particular type of property, say along the river here, with views up and down the river, on the north side, not the south. If somebody's fairly specific, or I'm specific, saying what I want, you can find a fair amount on Google Earth or maps. But the best thing to do is get a boat, go along the river, because you can then see which old buildings have got a view. And once you've identified them, you can find the nearest village and go and ask.
Hold on a minute. So have you actually done? You've went and got a boat at times and done that, have you?
Yeah, you could. Yeah. And why not?
No, absolutely. Why not? But that's so great. That's taking mooching to another level, though, isn't it? When you take to the water like that. Well,
it is, because these sort of covert operations. It may be because I'm looking for somewhere for me, but basically there's a premium for any old farm that's got a view, a decent river view, that may have trees around it, but it might also own the trees, so you can remove the pine and eucalyptus and whatever you want to do. And it's just it's just scouting, really. Sometimes you see a glimpse of something up in the hills and think, no, well, that would be nice, because you're seeing it from from the road you're on.
Yeah.
Then it's got a view, at least of that road in the distance. So I love instead of driving past it 50 times in a year, I'll go and find it.
And you don't have to be camoed up like a Navy SEAL, really. I guess you just get in the boat and you sail past and wave to anyone who sees you.
Yeah, or go up a track as far as it goes and walk. It's very welcoming country. There aren't armed guards anywhere. There's not Jobsworths in high-vis jackets telling you to F off.
Yes, long may that continue. Fantastic.
Yeah,
love it. Turn left, not right. The mooching adventures of Paul Rees is with us this morning. Bon dia Gumpers says, Jackie, not heard the mooching word in years. I love a good mooch around, so you'll be at home here. Smash the like button, she also says. And I would like to ask about Tavira village, please. Now, that's off your new territory, but somewhere you would have known from the past, I suspect, Paul.
Yeah, Tavira, I know well, yeah.
Yeah. What would you say about Tavira village? And what do you want to know specifically, Leela, about that? But what would you say generally about Tavira village, Paul?
Tavira village sounds like a development that I don't know. I know Tavira well, but you have to say where Tavira village is. I think maybe on the way to the next bit of Tavira. What's the pinprick of a village that is the centre of octopus? Luz de Tavira. Okay. I think developments past the convento going down that way. But Tavira's interesting in that going along the river, the buildings along the riverside are extraordinary. If you look at their roofs, they got what they call scissor roofs, which are up and down in like a serrated landscape. apparently those were exact copies from the early explorers coming back from Japan, where
Well, I never.
yeah, and also from Japan was the little detail, on the corner of the roofs where they have like a little dragon or something
Yes.
on the pointy corners. Those were Far Eastern as well. So Tavira did well from the discoveries. Obviously, there were people that made a few bob, and it's renowned. I think it's got 32 churches and chapels for some reason, against Oliau's 2. Down the road.
It tells you something about the local population, doesn't it?
Yeah,
very good
it's
stuff.
quite. It's delightfully middle class, Tavira. I've liked it for a long time.
Excellent. Okay, there you go, Leela. Great value from Paul there. In US, a mooch is someone who borrows something from you with no expectation of returning it. Mooching a cigarette. Oh, like scrounging. Scrounging a fag, which I think definitely means something different in US. Mooching a cigarette, spare money, it's money, spare change. The word bum is synonymous. Yikes. So be careful with American clients when you tell them you're mooching around central Portugal, and bumming something will be the same as mooching. Bum, like hobo, beggar, etc. Not as in British. Okay, so there we go.
Yeah. In British, mooching gives the image of walking along with your laces undone, your hands in your pocket and your shirt flapping, sort of wondering which pub to go to next, just mooching about.
In a casual, perambulatory manner, one might say.
Yeah, and slightly dishevelled. Yeah.
Yes, not unlike the first stereotype that we created today of the filthily rich Brit who cares nothing for his appearance. In the US, mooching had more a connotation of taking advantage of another's generosity, such as mooching a meal. So there you go. In the last couple of minutes that we have, I know you've got a busy day ahead. Are there any properties you want to tell us about? Is there anything we can do for you as a community, Paul?
Oh, definitely. There's one property for sale.
Yeah,
for 78,000 euros, a bargain. That's a little 2-bedroom property in a village called Valderio. That's at the end of the public road. It's near Figueira dos Vinhos.
Sounds
so
good.
It's 10 minutes to town, and it's. I would encourage people to ask me about it because the price has been recently reduced. I'd like to move it on, and I'm happy to meet people there and have a coffee and talk about anything to do with the business. So you don't have to be a property buyer, but if someone wants to chat about what we do and how we do it, I'm always open to talk to people in the nearest bar or cafe. Just out of interest.
Part of your mooching routine. And maybe these weekend workshops will be coming up soon with the Paul Rees, how to mooch in Portugal. I'd go on that, I think, with you.
Mooching. I think we'll have to change it because the US connotation, which I wasn't aware of. Of course, Minnie the Moocher now takes on a whole and correct meaning of it being an American.
We might have to look at that. Yeah,
we'll have to look at it, but we'll stick with our tourist board guides to the area.
Well, we didn't come up with a Welsh. It's like
no,
Wales.
We haven't yet.
But we will come back to that. We've got Scotland, but without the midges. We've got Ireland without the rain. And next time I see you, maybe we'll have Wales without the ... Always great fun and informative talking to you. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, I'm sure dear viewer will write in with something suitably scurrilous for the Welsh.
Yes, I think Pete will be all over that in due course. And OLP Linda prefers smooching to mooching. I don't think we can.
Definitely.
We can't offer a weekend of that, though, can we?
We can't, no.
Maybe we can. Alas, I need to leave early, says Joao Ernesto. I must meet a pal to play 9 holes of golf. Work. Someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it.
Yes, thank you, Joao Ernesto. And thank you, Paul. Great to see you. Have a great day in Central Portugal, my friend.
I will. Thanks a lot.
All right. Ciao. And bye for now. Bye. See ya. There he goes. Right. Always great fun to talk to Paul. And the website address, rural-properties.com, is if you want to take Paul up on his offer there. To have a little bit of a mooch, an amble, a perambulation. It's like Wales. I don't know if you're still there, Paul, and can hear this. It's like Wales without the singing. That did occur to me, But there probably are times when you go into a Portuguese cafe and you are hearing the master voices of men who've had one or two drinks. That's a possibility. So I don't know if it is like Wales without the singing. Not as much singing, that's for sure. And Darren says, is it possible to hire skips in Portugal? It is. I don't know how to. Paul would have known the answer to that. I bet he's hired a skip or two in his time. Not a euphemism. It is possible. Don't know how to do it. Perhaps we'll stick that on a Portugal Club timeline because I think both you and Paul might be over there, actually. Darren, most people dig a hole or dump it down a lane and the grass grows over it within 2 seasons. US might call it kicking it. That's interesting. Okay, so we haven't come to a collective agreement on that yet about the mooching thing, but we certainly get the gist, don't we? How wonderful that life must be of Paul just driving around central Portugal or in a boat on a river, seeing a property, stepping ashore and saying, I'd like to make an offer on this place. We've got Heather joining us in just a moment. Actually, I think I'll have her join me now because we've got a cat picture and we want to find out what the cat was looking at through the window. So let's give her a nice big round of applause and bring her onto the screen. Heather Minor, everybody. How are you doing, Heather?
Good. Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. And yourself? Good to see you here this morning. It's very beautiful here in this part of the Silver Coast. How is it where you are near Caldas de Rainha this morning?
Yes, well, we're not too far from each other. So I don't know. I haven't been outside or opened up the blinds.
All right. I'll give you a bit of a clue. I think
it looks nice out. Yes. It's sunny,
yes.
Right?
You're feeling that already. You're feeling the.
Well, I can see the light coming through that. It ain't quite close to my blinds enough.
In no time, I'm sure you'll have a Colin Ross Jones type halo if you do venture out.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Isn't that great? Do you recognize that venue, Heather? Have you been to Atelier de Dos up the hill there?
No, I have not. I don't recognize that.
The best bolos de Belém in all of Portugal.
Oh, that sounds amazing. But
it is fabulous. And you leave with a glow of that kind as well. And I promised you a cat picture. So Tintin, João de Nor, he's got to go play golf, so he might not see this.
Tintin, the cat.
Tintin the cat is looking out of the window, and we've got a little snippet of video to tell us what exactly Tintin is looking at. So we'll come back and talk to you about what's going on for Boots on the Ground Portugal in just a mo after this little video here, which I think you need volume up for. This is a beautiful little vignette of life in the north of Portugal. That's the trouble with the Portuguese countryside. It's so flipping noisy, isn't it?
It can be. Just all about where you're at, right?
That's so lovely. Thank you, João de Nor. Very thoughtful sharing that with us. And now we know why Tintin is looking out of the window because of that bird song, I suspect, and maybe a snack. The cat looking at a tree probably just singing a range of... Well, I want your view on this because we were talking about this, I think it was on Monday, in a way that a human might look at that. A cat might look at a tree as being full of snacks and fast food in feathers. To Bell,
you know, I have a parrot, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Do you have cats as well? Do you have cats as well as a dog?
I have a cat. Yes, he's an indoor cat. He lost a leg, and I adopted him after that. And he also is FELV positive, which is like feline HIV, feline leukemia. So he has to be indoors, but I would have him indoors regardless to keep our wildlife safe. One of my friends back in the US is a wildlife rehabber, and the outdoor cats wreak havoc on the wildlife. Like what you're talking about.
We were talking about this on Monday because one of our cats that does go out, well, we've had 3. One's on the missing list at the moment, but the 2...
He's still missing? Oh, no.
He's
that's what happens, too.
Well,
right?
that's the biggest risk of letting your cats out is they don't come back, which is what happened
Yep.
to young Sebastian there.
Well,
And
that's a
I'm not
nice
used
way.
to it.
That's a really nice way to say it. They don't come back because he's out like partying.
Yes. Well, that's what I
Sure.
hope he's doing. I hope.
I hope he is too.
I mean,
Not so likely, but I hope so.
yeah, let's hope so. And you know, we want it to be like a Disney movie where he turns up at some point, you know, maybe months later, having had a really amazing time on the back of a lorry or something, and he's ended up in
Yes.
another part of Portugal, and he comes back to see us because he came from another part of Portugal. He is a traveller, that's for sure. But yeah, the other one, the more of the homebody cat, what's he called, Oliver. He was bringing in a series of birds the other day, and these are your baby birds, of course, that don't
Right.
know what's going on. They're fresh fledged, I think, and they, you know, he's just like easy pickings, like taking candy from a baby, you know, for this cat. And I was trying to shut him in, but so you would go with the solution that we were talking about on Monday of keeping the cats in, have house cats, never mind about bells or anything like that, keep them inside.
I used to do mama cat and kitten rescue from the pound in the US like years ago.
Yeah.
And I've rescued hundreds of cats. And I found one that got hit in front of my house and died. And there was a cat, it was a mama cat and her kitten, and they were really feral. And so we were trying to lure them in, and we did eventually get the mom in, and it sucked because it was days away from bringing the baby in. It wasn't a baby, but it was like maybe 4 months old or something. But he was just starting to let me like pet him just barely and like, you know, gain his trust. And he got killed right in front of the house. So I'm not really a fan so much of killing baby birds and, you know, just the 10 million things that an outdoor cat will do. And so I'm kind of more of a fan of the lazy house cat that lives for 20 years. But that's not what everybody does, for sure.
Yeah.
But needless to say, my kitty, I don't know what happened to him. But thank goodness, Reddy Leonardo, the rescue that we love in central Portugal, or not central, but, you know, our area here, Silver Coast, they are amazing. And they're one of the only ones that does cats in this area. It's also the Kitten Connection, which is like Peniche area. But Reddy Leonardo had this cat, and I wasn't going to adopt a cat. I was going to drop off some donations because we do the monthly meetup, Boots on the Ground, Portugal does. And we asked people to bring donations for Reddy Leonardo. So anyways, somebody brought some food and some cash. And so we were dropping it by, and then we got a tour, and I happened to see this amazingly gorgeous chocolate point Siamese, which Siamese is like, my first cat was Siamese, and she was the best cat I've ever had until I had this cat. Although I still love you, Bunny. So anyways, but I just see this cat, and he's in a kennel, like a wire kennel, because he had just had his leg amputated.
Yikes.
Also because he has this FIV, FELV positive, so he can't share litter and food and water with other cats, or he can
My
spread.
goodness. Yeah.
So anyways, long story short, he ended up coming home with me, and he's amazing. So he's the most affectionate cat I've ever had. He sleeps like on my chest.
Oh, wow. What a character by the sound of it.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
You just were dropping by to drop off some money and some supplies, and you came home with a 3-legged cat who you met.
Well, I didn't that day, but I did within a few days. We kind of processed through the whole thing. It was rather funny, actually. But he's really amazing. And you know, he's an indoor cat. He was definitely someone's like indoor cat, but obviously he got out, or he fell, or something happened, and he had this trauma to his back leg. And, you know, thankfully they were kind enough to spend the money on him and do the amputation. So I'm working on paying the rescue back what they spent. Not that you have to at all, but I feel responsible to do that. And, so needless to say, we that's what we do. We try to help.
There you go. That seems to be the bells seem to be a waste of time. Putting a bell on a cat collar does.
No, it does. Well, no, I think it does. Well, I mean, if you have baby birds, they're not going to be clued into that. They're just food as far as the cat, but they're not food because they don't eat them. They just kill them or maim them or make them so they die, basically. Something pleasant like that. But it is good to put a bell on a cat, but that does not solve all the problems for sure.
Thank you, Heather. Not with the funniest, intellectually challenged and laziest birds like partridge and pheasant, says Pete. And responding to Pete there, James, the research done in the US regarding the effectiveness of bells on cats is that they're basically useless for reducing bird kills, which was the original problem. We're here on Ask or Say Anything About Portugal Wednesday. Byrandy's just joined us, Bon dia Malta. We want to find out what the trends are currently with Boots on the Ground Portugal with Heather Binder here. Bon dia Malta, another day in paradise, Paraíso. And quirky things. I was talking about this earlier on, like when you go to a service station in Portugal and all the alcohol is the most accessible beverage on the bottom shelf there, ranging from very fine fizzes on the right to drinkable tins of beer, tins of wine, as well as you can see on the bottom shelf there. I was quite surprised when I first saw that in Portugal. And quirky things like this when you get into a lift and you press 2. It's actually you've seen this before, have you, Heather?
I have seen this before, but the extra confusing part, there's a hospital in Lisbon and they're like the only one, because when you go in, you're like on ground zero and there's like 4 steps up to the elevator, but it's literally like 4 steps or 5. And that's 1. And that messes with me because I'm like, we're still sort of at ground level. Like the ground level is like right there. And so, the elevator floor thing, I always tell people because, we do visas and we help people with housing and scouting and all that. And when it comes to housing, I always tell people, if it says, 3rd level, that really means like 4th, like you're going to add another flight of stairs.
Yes.
If it says no lift,
And you get into your mental arithmetic's like, so is it 1 more or 1 less? So yes, that can be quite.
It's 1 more because in the US it's 1, ground floor is 1, but in Europe in general, I believe, at least in Portugal, ground floor is 0. So it's 0, 1. So really when you're on the 1st floor, I live on the 1st floor in my house. I'm a flight up. So for every 1, add a flight of stairs.
Okay, thank you for that. La Vie Shopping Centre in Caldas.
Good lesson.
Yes, they know these things are very helpful. Or if they're not helpful, people will at least know what we're talking about suddenly. I remember those 2 having that conversation that morning, and now I'm lost in a hospital or a car park. This is what they were talking about. Other quirky things here in Portugal. People move. Morning to you, Wayne. Great to have you here. Morning to you. People moving to houses in Portugal. Whose cat is that? Answer, yours now. That can so easily happen. I had a cat. He did a runner for 2 years. Later, I found him living on another boat with 2 female cats. We are masters to dogs, but we're not more than a glorified skivvy to a cat. That might need translating as well. But we are the servants of cats, aren't we? And the masters of dogs, it would appear. Thank you for that, Jackie. Good to see you here this morning. And yes, cats usually see us as a convenient person for them. Just that. That's the conversation we have in the house all the time. I don't think the cats really. I
don't think that's true at all.
No, I'm not surprised to hear you say that. But you think cats do actually love you rather than just see you as an.
Oh, my cat loves me like you wouldn't believe. He's amazing. He's there's cats though, and then there's like cats that are just super bonded to humans. But I think when you have a house cat, I think they also are just bound to be more connected to the person.
That makes sense. Yeah.
More likely, at least.
All right. The lift theory, Europeans like to be higher. There you go. That's sorted out. That's why we do that here in Europe. So what's going on with Mrs. M's astrological consultancy? She often gets people asking her the same sort of questions, which is an eerie coincidence. They don't know each other. There are just like 2 or 3 clients who turn up. I want to know about this particular thing. And it's the same thing. Which is a spooky coincidence. Not in the world of astrology. I'm sure that there is a sort of a meter and rhyme.
The stars and all of that. So
is it like that in visas as well? Do you get batches of particular types of inquiry? And what's going on at the moment?
Yeah, I think in a way it is. I think different times a year. I mean, there's definitely different times of year people want to actually make the move versus others, most people aren't going like, yeah, I want to arrive, December 1st, because they want to spend that last, holiday with the family in the US or wherever it may be, wherever they're from, Canada, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think oftentimes people wait until the beginning of the year, or maybe it's the like New Year's resolution thing, or they just decide I'll get serious about that, come January or whatever it is. But that makes it harder because when people are searching for housing, they also then tend to be looking at sort of the peak times often that others are looking for housing. So I think if you can be off of that a little bit, it doesn't hurt, but there's all different sort of motivations and timings related to maybe passive income starting, or digital nomad, or whatever sort of visa you might be doing. So in general, I would say a lot of the questions are very similar in the sense of, people have a lot of confusion about the timeline and how to figure that out. And really, the repeated thing I would say I hear is that people after, like at the end of our conversation, people usually say they feel much more like they can take a breath, like calm, relaxed, like they've realized that there's somebody else that's done this, and that's done more maybe, or different, crazy things like move an endangered species or elderly parents, or, shipping container.
You've done all of those things, haven't you? Let's face it.
I've done a lot. And so I think that helps, just to know that like you have a partner who's going to be there from the very early stages of, should I even make this move, all the way through, I have my driver's license and all the things. And, for a couple of years, we work with our clients for like 2+ years, without nickel and diming them, just like flat fee, which is really, I think, such a nice thing, because you can just relax and take advantage of the assistance that you have in having locals, which would be my partner, Sarah, that does stuff with me. And then we have another new gentleman named Nuno, who is doing, or Nunu, I should say. And Nunu does kind of our social and media and tech stuff and all of that. And so, we have a nice, and then we have a, gentleman in the US too, that does some kind of background on the business side. So we have little pieces of everything. And of course, I'm the touch point and the mastermind behind the visas and kind of orchestrating everything. So yeah, I think definitely a lot of the similar questions come up for me in the visa process, but we also help with like so much more. So there's always something unique, and particularly people's situations tend to be really unique.
Yeah, individual and unique, obviously. Okay, a specific question from OLP in Montana this morning for you in Montana, where it's snowing as well at the moment. Thank you for your messages, and thank you for being here this morning, Linda. How long is the D7 visa taking these days? That's a good question.
Well, it depends on who is doing your processing, but if that's an Oregonian, then they're going out of San Francisco. And San Francisco, last I checked, is right around 50, 60 days, 52 right in there on the low. Like that's definitely DC is running right around that. And San Francisco tends to be a little bit longer, so they might be more in the like 70-ish day range, I think is maybe a good number. I have a tool that I use that one of my geeky friends that loves statistics uses. So I look that up fresh and look at what the last 6 months are showing. If people have input their information into the tool, then that will be updated. But yeah, we just got some recent approvals through San Francisco, quite a few actually. Most of our clients go San Francisco. Most of our US-based clients end up being San Francisco.
Very good. Okay, and are you hearing anything as far as I'm a former staff is doing? Apparently, it's on the governmental agenda now, isn't it, to look at migration more generally? Have you heard anything about that? Is there anything you can tell us on that sort of wavelength?
Well, nothing's happening fast. Supposedly, they're working on this, website system so that people will be able to sign up for appointments automatically, or not automatically, but like easily. And nothing has happened on that. I talked to an immigration attorney I work with when needed the other day, and attorneys have no special sauce. They have no magic when it comes to these appointments. If they have anybody making appointments, then they're just a dialer person that's dialing. And I did get a contact for like a dialer person that one of my clients used successfully. And now I'm probably bombarded them with a bunch of my clients contacting them.
Right.
But most people were getting AMA appointments automatically with their visas from about November, December through just recently. We only had a few clients that did not. But now our last clients that just got approved, again, did not have appointments. So that sucks, basically.
And another good reason why it's lovely to have someone to call and talk it through with, like yourself, Heather, I think, to calm down when things aren't going quite according to plan. All right. Thank you for that question, OLP. And you can find out more about Heather's very wide range of services and how she can help at bootsonthegroundportugal.com. Cats are a nightmare, apparently. They're out all day, then they come into the house and decide to put their territorial markings everywhere, like children. It takes ages to clean up, like children. Keep the main door shut so they can't get in the lounge. Love dogs. Now, what's going on there then? Gemini's got cats, but doesn't seem to be in love with them in the way that we've described earlier on. Is there something she's doing wrong from your cat behavioral understanding point of view, Heather?
I think it has to do with attitude. And maybe there's a reframing there that would help that
It's
situation.
always about the owner, isn't it? It's always about the owner.
Well, there's a wide variety, just like in people. There's certainly a lot of people I don't want to be around. And then there's some people I really do want to be around.
Yes,
so
okay. Fair enough. All right, Nicole.
You have some visa questions. I can see them. That's bugging me.
Go pick them up if you're seeing them, because I'm not.
Okay, so someone's saying 212 days.
Yes.
Wow. Something doesn't sound.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I don't know what location that was out of, so it's hard to say. But that 212 is messed up.
I think that was for San Francisco. It was San Francisco, wasn't it, that one?
I definitely need to contact them and say what's going on and keep doing that, because that's the longest I think I saw was maybe 130 or something like that days. So that's crazy.
Oh, I think that's done now. Yeah, that's already done, but that was the past, and it was 212 days by the sound.
Oh gosh. Yeah. There are many other locations besides DC and San Francisco. It depends on where you live. So it's all about your consulate jurisdiction, VFS global jurisdiction. You can look that up, and certainly we can assist.
Another part to that, though, Heather, we also have heard you can do remote appointments if you're too far away. I've never heard of this.
You used to. So, I moved here almost 3 years ago. June will be 3 years. And I was able to do a mail-in to DC at that time, which was great. DC has had some mail-in on and off, but it's been off, as far as I know, anytime recently. So you do have to travel there. I even had a client with a 3-month-old baby. They had 4 super young kids, and coming from Oregon to San Francisco, and the whole family had to go. It's crazy, but that's for long stay visas. That is a requirement.
Okay. Erica actually residence there. That was last year. So well done. That's all sorted, done and dusted. I think you had a nice way of putting what we were talking about here earlier on, Erica. But I don't seem to be able to find it now. Something about, universal questions floating in the European zeitgeist then about visas. Perhaps something else you might want to tell us about this morning, Heather, is your meetup, of course, as well. It's all important once you've got here, as Erica has, to have a network.
I don't follow that question, though. What is the actual
I think that
question?
was my original question, is are there particular themes at the moment? And I think you answered.
Oh, well, people want out of where they're at because, hello, the world. And, so we're seeing a lot of UK. We're seeing a lot of, I I've sent 2 family members to heaven. Oh,
I
thank
distracted
you.
you again there.
I know. I'm shiny this morning.
Good work, Heather, says
Well,
Eric.
thank you, Erica. I don't know that if I know you, but if I do, message me or whatnot.
All right, there you go. And thank you, Heather, from OLP as well. He's probably going to be in touch. Okay.
Nice. Yeah. So I think that I was just reading about this. There's a lot of craziness and a lot of immigrant populations that are not so welcoming and not so great to have around, i.e. terrorists, right? And needless to say, luckily, Portugal is really well positioned because we're tiny and we are sort of ignored. And that's kind of a nice thing. It doesn't mean we don't have, the potential for that, but on the scale of things compared to the U.S., I believe, and the some other parts of Europe as well, we're pretty good here. We're pretty safe here, and we kind of fly under that radar. And it's one reason I love living where I live, a little bit in the countryside, an hour from Lisbon, the airport, 20 minutes from the ocean. To me, it's kind of idyllic in that,
well
perfect
said.
sort of way. Yeah.
We are so lucky. On my last 48 hours road tripping around central Portugal.
Yes. And Central's beautiful.
I got an even deeper sense of it, of the peace and tranquility and the easygoingness of the people. So yeah, there's a lot to be said. And thank you for mentioning that this morning. And if you want help getting your own access to that, you can do so at Boots on the Ground PT.com.
Yes.
With Heather. I think we're going to go out with a bit of music from Gary Taylor, who's a local musician this morning, and play his video. Before we do, though, Heather, we've also got visual memory. And forgive me, this is a little bit of a sexual nature from James. Not this one, but he says, you were talking about being shiny, which I love. I like that turn of phrase this morning. Here's a different kind of way the brain helps or hinders. Why would my own brain ruin my own day? Like, whose side are you even on, bro? It does feel like that sometimes, doesn't it? And I saw another nice meme which said, worrying is like worshipping the thing. Which I thought was very astute and sensible as well, but easier said than done. And I didn't think I was going to show this, but Mrs. M saw this on my phone and laughed out loud. I don't know why.
I just chuckled.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? How come you never blink when we have sex? I don't have time. Do you know these? I don't know the names of these people.
Riker and Deanna Troy, of course.
Sorry.
Wow, you just lost all the cred right there.
The last little bit.
No geek cred there whatsoever. The next generation. Yes, of course.
All right, next question then, given that
Wait, I have to make my plug really quick when you're talking about Central Portugal. I just have to.
Yeah, cool.
So I still have my lot for sale.
Okay.
I have a cute little piece of land with a beautiful view in a little teeny village. Super nice. So if anyone's interested, reach out to me, Heather at bootsonthegroundpt.com. And it's 29,900 euros. And it's an urban lot ready to build on and get a permission and all that good stuff, has utilities.
Yeah, and you can be the near neighbors. No, you're very welcome. You can be the near neighbors of the amazing Austin brothers of Alvagra and be very close to Tamar as well. It's a great location. Well done on that. And I was going to ask you if you've ever dressed up like this, which seems like an terribly inappropriate question. But actually, yes, of course. You're not.
I've never dressed as Deanna Troy, but yes, we cosplay and do Comic-Cons and the medieval festival. The medieval festival is about to kick off, so yeah, we do all that kind of stuff, and we love that.
I asked you, how can others who want to get involved in cosplay in Portugal or get dressed up in a medieval style, how do the people get access to that here in Portugal?
Well, the medieval stuff with the festivals, you can often rent really bad costumes. But sorry, I'm a little bit of a snob there. No, because we do the medieval reenactment stuff coming from a different organization where you hand make stuff or machine make, but you make your own costumes. But you can access some definitely, fun things you can rent for the day and whatnot at the festivals themselves. And then also there's some vendors. There's a vendor in Obidos, and we just saw it at some of the fairs in Caldish and stuff, and they sell, different pieces and whatnot. So there's a lot of really good options for that. As far as cosplay goes, that's a different story, but we do, I do want to do more making of costumes and stuff. So we are looking at kind of doing more of we have a Stitch and Bitch group, and we need to get scheduling something with that because I have some things I want to work on.
Very good. Get in touch with Heather with all of these things, the lots, the plot in Tamar, near Tamar, getting help moving to Portugal, and cosplay, and join the Stitch and Bitch group. And
and the expat meetup, because you did ask me about that, which is the third Tuesday of the month. So if anyone's planning scouting trips, it's an awesome time to come and meet us and meet a bunch of great expats and locals as well. And so third Tuesday of the month and in Caldish. Yes.
Very good. And a fundraiser as well for Red de Leonardo that you spoke about before.
Yes.
Where you have from where your beloved cat came from. Heather, great job today. I'm going to play a tune called So Good. I think that's a very good review.
Okay. Sorry, I booted out whoever, whatever, but
How do you mean?
I don't know. You were going to say something else or show something else.
No,
I overran your time.
I'm going to do that now. I'm going to play the song anyway.
Oh, good. Okay.
So good. It's by Gary Taylor. Great job, Heather. See you again soon.
Bye.
And bye for now. Have a great day, everybody.
Okay.
We'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye.